The Spanish Civil War was part of a series of armed conflicts in the first half of the 20th century, in which different ways of conceiving humanity, society, economy, and culture clashed. In those years, Spain was in a deep political, economic, and social crisis, which had been dragging on since the loss of the last colonies at the end of the 19th century. When the war broke out in July 1936, the provinces of Santander, Asturias, Vizcaya, and the north of Palencia and Burgos remained loyal to the government of the Second Republic, while the north of Castile was under the control of the rebel troops. This situation lasted 13 months, during which time the front was maintained in the south of the province. The government created the Interprovincial Council of Santander, Palencia, and Burgos, in charge of, among other functions, the assistance to refugees, the evacuation of children, the supply of food and the minting of money. The atmosphere in Santander was tense, although it was not as tense as in other towns near the front. The authorities proceeded with requisitions, seizures, and expropriations, opened canteens and hospitals, issued ration cards, and organized vaccination campaigns. Despite the difficulties of the moment, the capital was a relatively calm place, although there was no lack of violence against political opponents. The active defense of the population fell to the Republican Air Force, which had airfields in La Albaricia and around the bay, and to the modest anti-aircraft defenses set up in strategic locations. In addition, the local Anti-Aircraft Defense Commission installed alarm sirens in different points of the city and supervised the excavation works of shelters. Shortly after the outbreak of war, the authorities issued the first passive defense measures. It was forbidden to leave children alone, to circulate in the streets during alarms, to take shelter in doorways, to open shutters, to turn on street lighting, and to use the telephone. Newly constructed buildings were also required to have basements to house residents during bombing raids. When the alarm sounded, residents were to go immediately to shelters or any place capable of providing protection. Cellars, tunnels, concrete buildings, shrapnel shelters, arcades reinforced with earthbags, and churches.
It was on Saturday the 3rd when the sirens, announcing the presence of airplanes, made the good and peaceful people of the city take refuge in the shelters. Each one sought the nearest shelter, and the ancient and venerable vault of Christ, the medieval catacomb of Santander, was completely filled. Along with the pious elderly of the neighborhood, there were other people who were, perhaps for the first time, entering the temple.